Welcome to the Tuesday, April 9th, 2019 meeting of the Long Meadow School Committee. This meeting is being recorded and aired live by LCTV, as well as being live streamed on longmeadow.org. It is a legal requirement for anyone else to disclose if they are recording this meeting. Seeing there is none, we'll go join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So moving on, I'm going to move on to correspondence real quick.
The following correspondence will be recorded. An emailed letter dated April 1, 2019 from Mr. Donald Jarvis of Lower Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative regarding the Student of the Month for March 2019. Long Meadow students honored are Charles Miranda, Building Property Maintenance, Rebecca Hunley in Landscaping Tech Horticulture 1, and Kobe Gale, Integrated Occupational Prep.
Thank you. I'll now open up to visitor comments. See, we have one visitor. Any comments?
I'm good over here, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We are now going to move to the Finance Subcommittee.
So yes, Finance Sub, we did meet back on, I think it was March 26th or 3rd or something like that. Not exactly sure where it was. So you do have a number of items on tonight's agenda for consideration. The first item are two facility use requests. The first is by Temple Bethel looking to use the high school auditorium on 4 dates in the fall, September 30th, October 1st, in accordance with their Rosh Hashanah holiday, and then Yom Kippur on October 8th, the evening of October 8th and October 9th. So this is, they reached out to us and asked because they're going to have some construction going on, and they don't know if it'll be completed in time for their the observance of their holidays, and asked if they could have the auditorium as standby in case the construction is not completed. So Finance Sub did recommend approval of the building use request.
Perfect. Is there motions?
I move on the recommendation of the Finance Subcommittee that the school committee approve the facility use request from the Temple Bethel to use the Long Meadow High School auditorium September 30, 2019, October 1, October 8, and October 9, 2019, as outlined in the facility use request dated February 8, 2019.
Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing as none, call for a vote. All in favor? Passes. Is there another motion?
The second request, if I may, is for the Impressions Academy of Dance, which is for a dance recital in June. The request is for the high school auditorium and classroom space, June 1st and June 2nd. And this is a company who has used the facility. This is the 5th year that they've rented it.
Good. Thank you, Tom.
Well,
Is there a motion?
I move on the recommendation of the Finance Subcommittee that the school committee approve the facility use request from Impressions Academy of Dance to use the Long Meadow High School auditorium and a classroom on June 1 and June 2nd, 2019, as outlined in the facility use request dated January 31st, 2019.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor? Mr. Mazza, LED lighting proposal?
So earlier this year, the school committee approved a lighting retrofit program for the middle and elementary schools. We've done this a couple times in the past to convert the existing lighting to more efficient opportunities to reduce kilowatt hours and reduce our overall cost of our monthly consumption. At the time, we thought we were under a time crunch to get the projects completed to qualify for an incentive from the utility company. But since then, they've come back and told us that they could do the high school also if we were interested. So they did walk through the building and have selected a number of areas to convert the existing lights to LED. Areas that we use a lot of hours: the cafeteria, the pool, the gym, the back gym, the locker rooms, the main hallways around the common areas. So the total investment would be $90,000, with $51,000 being paid for from incentives from the utility company, and $39,000 being paid by the district over the course of 2 years through our monthly utility bills. The cash flow is a positive $13 a month for the first 24 months. After that, we would see a monthly savings of $1,650. So this mirrors exactly the projects we've done at the other 5 buildings, with a 2-year payback for the investment.
Great. There's a motion.
I move on the recommendation of the Finance Subcommittee that the school committee approve the lighting retrofit contracts as outlined in the summary sheet for the high school and authorize the chair to sign the contract.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion?
Just makes
No,
sense.
I think it's, I mean, a 2-year payback on an investment like that is kind of a no-brainer. So it's something I think we should move forward with.
Agreed. It's worked out at the other schools. I mean, nobody's had any impact on what the lighting is, according to the principals that we've heard. Correct, Mrs. Hutton? Okay, thanks. Agreed. Think it's just a great win-win for the town. All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Approved. Mr. Mazza, budget, year-to-date budget report and revolving account report.
So there are 2 budget documents in your packet tonight. They are informational. Finance Sub reviewed them at the subcommittee meeting, but I felt after they see them that they come up to the school committee just for informational reasons, to kind of give the committee an overview of where we are in terms of our FY19 budget. The 2 gray columns on the right section of the year-to-date budget report are my estimates of anticipated activity from now until June 30th, and where we anticipate each line to end in terms of the balance. So it's a line item analysis of our budget. And then on the very last page, the grand total line would give you an indication of how much we anticipate may be left as of June 30th in our general fund appropriation. Right now, again, this is subject to change based on invoices that come in. My assumptions may be a little off for utilities and other type of expenses that aren't necessarily defined as of yet. So I just think as we progress closer to the end of the fiscal year, we'll be producing these on a more regular basis just to keep track of where we are. The second report is a revolving account report. So we have a number of funds in which we receive, whether it be payments from parents or the state, that we receive revenue from for various purposes, such as school choice, student fees for parking, or transportation, that get deposited into a revolving account. And then we record expenditures associated to those revenues in those funds. The revolving account report would give you a synopsis of where the fiscal year balance started, the revenue that we've received so far, what we anticipate to collect for revenue for the year, and what our expenditures that have been incurred, and what we expect to spend under encumbrances for the rest of the year, and what the ending fiscal year balance will be. Again, informational, so the committee understands what our position is in any of those specific accounts. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, whether it be in general, as I'm sure this is the first time seeing it for a number of the new members, or specific line items, or anything you might have in regards to those 2 documents.
I'll open the motion first.
We don't, no
the
motion
budget
necessarily, just informational on these two items. I mean, if you want me to cover the budget transfers, I'd be happy
Oh, okay,
to
so
do that
it's
also.
separately. Okay. Sorry, Tom.
No problem.
So any questions for Tom on,
I guess I would just say, are there any things that surprise you?
No, we talked about it at the subcommittee level. Tracking tuitions is an area that definitely changes as student placements change. Utilities, I try to just trend out where we'll be, looking at historical data from last year and what we've been doing every month. Obviously, as we're getting now into warmer weather, our natural gas consumption will go down, so we plan accordingly. There is an assumption that the athletic revolving account will probably have a deficit of about $30,000 the last couple of years. The general fund budget has increased the amount allocated to support athletics, but I still anticipate we'll probably have a shortfall possibly this year. So nothing that jumps out at me that I'm concerned about, or that is outside of what I would consider normal financial parameters.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is that where you're projecting us, we look in very good shape. We're just gonna keep an eye on it because, as you noted earlier, we're gonna need to figure out what we wanna do. Right now, you see a pretty healthy surplus, but that's all on projections. So every week, that's gonna go up and down, and we will eventually need to make some decisions as a group. So,
So associated with that would be two budget transfers,
yeah, actually,
which are
I didn't
next
pull
on the agenda.
this paper out. I pulled the other two out. Sorry, Tom,
No
thanks.
problem. To move allocations around within our budget, the school committee authorizes those transfers to occur. What you have in front of you tonight would be two separate set of transfers. The first one would be the general fund transfers, which would be the money that's allocated to the school department from town meeting for our budget. And this would be the second set of transfers that have been submitted for approval to the school committee. The first round was earlier this fall. Transfers are needed to cover whether they be a shortfall in salary based on projections that we had when we developed the budget last year. We added some new positions in both special ed and kindergarten positions at Center and Blueberry this year. So there's various reasons that I try to just give you a short explanation as to what the deficit is, why the deficit exists. The second document is transfers for grants and special revenues. Similar to the general fund, in order to move money around on a line item, there's policy that dictates how that process occurs. So tonight, we're asking your approval to recognize either increase allocations in grants. So a number of our entitlement grants, Title I, Title IIA, and Title IV received an increase than what we had originally approved earlier this fall. So by approving these transfers, we'll be accepting that additional amount and then adding them to the appropriate line in our budget. The total increase for all of the transfers is $5,918. So it's not tremendous increase in the increased allocation we received, but it's something, and we're placing it where we believe we will spend those funds.
Okay, now I will entertain a motion.
I move on the recommendation of the Finance Subcommittee that the school committee approve the budget revision as outlined in the document titled FY19 Grants and Special Revenues, Amendment Number 2, dated March 26, 2019.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
So the only thing I'd point out, and because this may not seem so straightforward to everybody, is if you're looking at that first document Tom handed out, that's the official budget, and where we put all, like, when we get the original budget from town meeting, everything goes into an approved budget by line. So money can only be spent within the lines for the items within the lines. The power to move money between the lines is granted to the school committee. So we, as a committee, have to approve the moving of the money from one line to another. And say we have excess legal fees, then we have to move money from someplace to accommodate that. So we have to take it from one part of the budget and put it to the other part. Tom just can't do that without our approval. So that's basically what we're doing with these budget transfers here. So if you're looking at the, the increase lines, basically we need to cover the increases because of a specific reason in the budget. Not that none of these things were not anticipated. This is a normal course of business. This isn't anything that is out of the ordinary. But if you want to know more about that, you can sit down with Tom or look at this for hours on end with glasses, because I can't read that. But just a little background in case anybody was having thoughts or concerns or wants to talk more about it, so I'll open up for discussion now.
Yeah, the one other thing to add too is this subcommittee, the finance subcommittee, has no authorization to move either. We just make recommendations, so we have to bring it to this committee before we can make any changes too, which is another good fail-safe.
Great. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote on that motion. All in favor? Approved. Is there another motion?
I move on the recommendation of the Finance Subcommittee that the school committee approve the budget transfer as outlined in the document titled FY19 General Fund Budget Transfer Number 2, dated March 26, 2019.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing as none, call for vote. All in favor? Great. Mr. Mazza, lunch monitor and summer custodian rate.
Yeah, so I do apologize, but at your seat, I left you a document tonight, just kind of trying to give you a high-level summary of what is being requested. So at Finance Sub, we discussed the possibility of increasing the hourly rate for 2 job classifications. One would be our lunch monitors. We employ them at the elementary and middle school level. And then we also have some summer custodial positions that we employ high school students during the summer to work 8 weeks. Both positions are currently paid at the minimum wage that was $11 until January 1st. Municipalities are exempt from adhering to the minimum wage. But, seeing how the money is going back to individuals that work and live in this community, we were asked if the committee would consider increasing the rate up to the current minimum wage, which is $12. I do believe there's legislation that has passed that will continue to increase the rate January 1st each year for the next 4 years by 75 cents, which will then eventually bring it up to $15. So Finance Sub did review this. They did recommend increasing it to $12. The document that I left at your seats tonight is just to give you an idea of what the total cost is. So if you were to approve it, the entire cost for the year would be about $6,600. The amount for the remainder of this fiscal year, assuming you were to increase it, I would recommend April 1st, would be about $400. The summer custodial positions, if it's approved tonight, will get posted tomorrow, but that'll be part of next year's budget. So the cost that would be incurred would be the remaining days that, from April 1st or whatever date you choose through June 30th, that the lunch monitors work. But again, I'd be happy to answer any questions in regards to the proposal.
Kevin?
Do we have any other employees that make minimum wage?
Some of our substitute positions that are not paid on an hourly basis, if you were to break it down on an hourly basis, would be below minimum wage.
But their salary.
The superintendent and I spoke about this, and we spoke with Finance Sub about it. That is probably going to have to be a comprehensive, something we look at for next fiscal year, because both, I would say, teacher subs and para subs, when you break it down on an hourly basis, they are either just at or below minimum wage. So it is something we will be talking about, probably bring forward before next school year to adjust those rates. Besides that, there are no other positions that are below the $12 rate.
Yeah, and really, we talked a lot about it. It's really a 3-pronged. This one we looked at as almost a no-brainer to make the adjustment. Then the second piece of it, we did start talking about that aspect, the subs and whatnot, and kind of left that as a future. And then also, we know what's coming with these positions and what we're going to be competing against with other jobs in the area. And also, a lot of these are local citizens, but also students in some cases where we're investing in them to provide jobs. So there is a conversation here about the income and expense associated with these too. So there is an income that offsets some of these. Just we got to be very considerate about what we think is right to do. And we'll be coming back to say, okay, here's what we think. We can offset and not offset and have a good go-forward plan. So, but it has to be a good mix because you can't just take from one and just make it whole. But there's what we look at this is really an investment in our, students and local citizens. So.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move on the recommendation of the finance subcommittee that the school committee raise the hourly wage for lunch monitors and summer custodians to the minimum wage of $12 an hour.
Motion, second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
Carmen, could I just ask that it be amended to include effective April 1st? If that's the will of the committee, just so that it's date specific, or the date you would choose, but that's the date I'd
Boom.
recommend.
Who made the motion?
Bronwyn.
As amended?
As amended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion as amended.
Thank
And
you.
a second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Is that all, Mr. Mazza?
It is. Thank you very much.
Okay, anything else to report before you head off?
No, I will be stepping out. I'm going to be joining SEAL. Gina and I will be presenting the FY20 budget to them and come back after we're done.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I know we wouldn't mention this, but Finance Sub also reviewed an audit report on our federal grant program, and to Tom's credit, to his office credit, it came back clean. There was no findings. That is not always the case for many districts, but we're pleased that it came back the way it did. So kudos to Tom and his staff.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. All right, approval of minutes. We have some minutes. Is there a motion?
I move that the school committee approve the minutes to the March 19th, 2019 school committee as presented.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor? Motion?
I move that the school committee approve the minutes to the March 25th, 2019 school committee meeting as presented.
Motion and second?
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor? All right, any school committee announcements or recognitions? Bronwyn?
I just wanted to congratulate the students from Glenbrook Middle School that attended the Science Olympiad state tournament at Assumption on March 23rd. Several students placed, which was very exciting. And also I wanted to thank Mrs. Novak, the 8th grade science teacher at Glenbrook, for taking so much time volunteering to help the students prepare throughout the year for the two tournaments that they went to. It was very exciting, and they all did very well, and a lot of them are looking forward to competing on the high school Science Olympiad team.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Any other comments?
I have one. For the pleasure of attending the Williams Middle School play, which I've attended a number of times, thanks to my children going there. And the oldest boy did a great job, since it was my son. They always put on a great show, and it was a lot of fun to go there. So good for them.
That was fantastic.
Great. I would just congratulate the Glenbrook Pack on the Bulldog Dash that was the past Saturday, and was a lot of fun. Also like to say congratulations to all of our high school students who were waiting very patiently into the last week of March and April for find out where the seniors to find out where they were going to get offers to go for college. And I know there was a lot of really good schools that were in the mix, so a lot to be proud of by our students at the high school.
Nice.
All right, with that, the school committee comments, recognitions. You guys are right on time. This is awesome.
The kids first, maybe?
Yeah. Miss Fritz here?
Mrs. Fritz here yet? Ms. Sutton?
Okay,
She's
bring him
here.
in.
Oh, she is, okay.
Hi, Mrs. Fritz. Come on up. Do you guys?
Maybe with some of the high school students, if you would give up your chair, we need one more chair for our younger students. And Mrs. Fritz, come on up and sit with them. I guess, can we get one more chair for Mrs. Fritz? Thank you.
Thank you. So just for our audience at home, we have Ms. Valerie Fritz, center school teacher. Some of her former students who did a very persuasive project last year in 5th grade and regarding the environmental impact of single-use plastic bags. This group of students brought their project to town meeting in May, and as a result, the town adopted a change in the town's bylaws that will prohibit the use of single-use plastic bags in stores, and not just in stores, in town, right? Basically, restaurants, stores, everything. Yeah. So, thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you guys got organized and what you did?
And could you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Dr. O'Shea. That's a good one.
So, I'm Luca Baresi.
I'm Sophia Gordon.
I'm Francesca Trotta.
We have someone else coming?
We have one other student, but I'm not sure if she's coming or not.
Okay.
So I was just checking to see.
You guys tell us a little bit about your project and how it got started and...
It's been so long, do you remember?
So it basically kind of got started with us reading these 2 books about how bad plastic bags were for our environment, and we were so moved by it that we started to learn more about it and started to make goals to ban them in Long Meadow.
Yeah, so we started by doing them in our schools, and we got the containers in our schools to put plastic bags inside. And then after that, we came to the town a bunch, and we just did the school committee, and
And I made something for them. Can I give it to them now?
Perfect.
They were in Scholastic News. I don't know if you have heard of that. So I made them all little frames of their Scholastic News. And then there's a little presentation, and then there's the article in the newspaper. So
Before you continue, Ms. Fritz, in case the cameras at home are watching, so we all, I bet most of the folks around this table remember reading Scholastic News. I look for, as a social studies nerd that I became, I look forward to receiving my Scholastic News in school. And so this is a national publication, and for you guys to be featured in that is really impressive, and it speaks to how important your project was and what an impact it had. So congratulations on being featured in a national publication. Maybe some of the other folks around this table have been featured in national publications. I know I haven't, so congratulations to you guys. That's really impressive. Thank you. Nice job. Yeah.
So what are you guys working on next?
I know me and one of my English teachers are going to try to ban straws.
And straws. We were at, my wife and I went to a concert last week, and they had paper straws at the venue. You had to use 2 or 3 of them, but but it was a good first step, I think.
I saw some places were making up pasta straws, so they don't break down.
Does anybody else have any questions for students?
Yeah, I got a question. I get it.
Comment?
Luca, I think you explained this to me as to why. Just remind everybody, 'cause there's a lot of people probably watching. Why are these so bad again? I know you would remind, or Sophia or Jessica, either one of you.
Yeah, so basically they're just really, they like pollute the world, and they take thousands of years to break down, and a lot of animals think they're their food, and then millions of animals die because of them.
They never fully decompose. There's all these little bits. They're never fully decomposed, so they're always here.
Yeah. So once you use one, it's going to be here forever.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Susie?
I had a question. Going into this, did you think you were going to have this degree of impact?
I didn't think we would be able to ban it. But I had a suspect that like we would be able to do something in our school, but never banned it totally.
We definitely hoped.
Yeah. You definitely hoped, but you weren't really sure. So what does this tell you about, like, just anything?
That anyone can make a change.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is so awesome. Thank you so much for what you did.
So, what kind of alternatives are you proposing for people in town? Reusable bags? Is that?
Reusable bags.
Yeah.
Reusable bags, even paper bags. Those are great too.
Last year, the PTO used their logo and made reusable bags, and they were selling them to promote reusable bags also.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? Well, we have nothing as nearly as fancy as you, Ms. Grant. But just the Long Meadow School Committee presents these certificates to you in recognition of your efforts to combat the long-term environmental effects of single-use plastic bags. Your actions resulted in change to the Town of Long Meadow's bylaws and awareness of town residents of this important environmental issue. Congratulations on your success and activism given this day, 9th day of April, 2019. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Nice job.
Thank you.
Well done.
Big time.
This is what makes school committee worth it. Next, we have Long Meadow Robotics, Mr. Lee Allentuck, and advisor to the Robotics Club. He's going to present students and the club.
I'm gonna let the students take it over.
There you go.
All right.
Come on up. You can pull some chairs up if you want, if you need, or just, you have three of you? All right.
So we have a visual representation, so would it be all right if I got, well, they introduce us, would it be all right if I used your smartboard?
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to kind of.
Oh, there it is. It'll take a second for it to warm up.
So while we're waiting for that, I'm Will Most. I'm a senior here at Long Meadow High School,
I'm Vanessa Carteropoli, I'm also a senior at Long Meadow High School.
and we're both part of the Long Meadow Robotics program. We run through a program called FIRST for the Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. It is a nonprofit organization that has a bunch of different levels.
We're in the topmost level, First Robotics Competition, or FRC, but there are a ton of other levels from middle school and elementary school. There's as well.
At our level, it is basically every single year in January, a new game is released that has vastly different components and objectives than the previous year's game. And teams have 6 weeks to build, design, program, and do everything to create the best possible robot to compete in that game. But not only is there the whole technical and mechanical aspect, but there's also a business aspect for people who are interested in that. And we have award submissions, so
what you guys are going to see right now is our presentation for one of the most prestigious awards at these First Robotics competitions, and this is called the Chairman's Award, and it basically talks about our community outreach and things that we've done in the past years we've been a team. So without further ado,
we turn it over to these three.
Jay, you need a microphone.
Alright. Okay. So, I'm Jay. I am a junior on the team and I've been here for 2 years.
Hello, I'm Marisol. I'm a sophomore on the team and I've been here for 2 years.
I'm Brian. I'm a sophomore and I've also been here for 2 years.
So, yeah. So they explained that we're Team Long Meadow. We're a second-year team based out of the high school here. And Marisol will start by presenting our team vision.
We strive to build a world-class robotics program that empowers students of all ages to take on new challenges. We hope that the students gain creative problem-solving skills that will help them succeed in the world beyond and make a positive impact on the community.
So despite being a
Last year we started off in a small classroom trying to figure out what a robot would, building a robot would be like, and now we have our own lab that we use almost every day to work on a robot.
Now it's my part. So despite being a relatively young team, we've seen incredible success in our first 2 seasons. You'll hear more about this season a bit later, But last year, we won 7 awards over the course of 3 competitions. The most prestigious would be the Rookie All-Star Award, which basically recognizes that we were one of the most outstanding first-year teams in New England. And this earned us an invitation to the World Championship in Detroit, which we were unfortunately unable to attend.
Our team has been structured to have different subgroups from mechanical, business, electrical, and we encourage all of our students to join more than one of our groups. An example is Aquina, who started off in the mechanical team but decided to try electrical one day and is now the head of our electrical team.
One of our main goals on the team is to be an inclusive environment. One of the main steps that we've taken towards that is our team currently has 4 ambassadors for the program LGBTQ+ of FIRST, which promotes the involvement of LGBTQ+ youth and mentors in FIRST and other STEM fields. We've also been very lucky to have the support and recognition of our state government. State Senator Eric Lesser and State Representative Brian Ash both came to Long Meadow Days last year, where we had 2 booths set up to display our robot and spread information about FIRST and how to get involved. And we also had a visit this past month, I would say, where Eric Lesser gave us a presentation on what he's doing and the importance of everything we're doing. We also let him drive a robot, and it was a really great experience for everybody.
We also work with other robotics teams and other outside programs to make sure that everyone in the club has every opportunity they can to learn something new. We've done things like we went to another team's seminar on an astronaut was speaking at another team's high school. We also went to Hartford to see how robotics is being used in the real world and just outside of our competitions.
We've also done a lot about learning about safety. 1 out of 3 of our members on our team are first aid certified. We have also, during December, we had a little seminar provided by the team that allowed us to learn more about safety tools and CPR so that we can help people in the future. Over the summer, we had an enrichment program where we had 2 weeks. 1 week was for middle schoolers and the other for elementary school students. So we talked about Lego Mindstorm, which is basically for FLL students, where we started with teamwork, design, coding, and multiple different things that allowed them to build new things within it. We gave them an experience just like what it is at FIRST, while showing them the different values that are there, such as gracious professionalism and cooperation. For people who enjoyed the summer enrichment camp, we also founded and mentored 2 FLL teams for elementary schoolers and middle schoolers. Both teams did exceptionally well, making it to the state competition, and both received recognition there as well. It was a really great experience both for the students and the mentors, the student mentors from Long Meadow. And for people who weren't able to mentor a team, we also sent volunteers to the competitions in Springfield at Western New England University, and at WPI was the state competition. We sent students and mentors to both to help make sure the events ran smoothly. We also participated at Western New England's Engineering Showcase. They offered us to go and see the different final projects that the students created during their year, which was an amazing experience because we also got to show what they helped us accomplish, since they were a big part of how we were learning and developing our team.
Another thing we did is we helped out with the hour of code at both of our middle schools. And we also gave presentations on what options there are for coding at the high school and coding beyond the high school.
I'm sure you all know about the Technology and Education Showcase. So we brought our robot and also the FLL team's robots there to show off everything that we've accomplished throughout the year and to get the community really excited and involved in FIRST. And we provided resources for how to form or join an FLL team so that we can get even more people involved with FIRST and STEM.
Not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, we had our first annual Sir Lancelot Robo Run, which is how we decided to reach out to more of the community that might not have heard about our team. We also had another robotics team from Windsor Locks, I believe, come and send some people to join us to also spread robotics.
We also are hoping in the future to visit the middle school and elementary schools to show off our robot and the possibilities that they have in the future, such as creating new teams, which we hope to do, such as FLL all the way to FRC teams.
And as our team continues to grow and expand, we're going to be sending off even more alumni. We have 4 alumni this year, I believe, who will be leaving our team. And while we're very sorry to see them go, we're glad that they're going to be going out and bringing their love for FIRST, their love for STEM, to their colleges, their workplace, and beyond. So that's our presentation. Thank you.
So now, Vanessa and I, as well with the help of our human player, Aquina, are going to show off the robot that we have built and the robot that we've driven at the competition and we'll be driving in the next upcoming days of the district championships.
Yes.
Aquina would like to quickly explain what the actions we need to perform are.
So this year's challenge was space themed. It's Deep Space is the year's game. I guess the concept of the game is that we are stuck on the moon.
Planet Primus.
Yeah, Planet Primus. Because we've gotten stuck in a sandstorm and we need to repair our rocket ship as well as put all of our cargo back in our cargo ship. This game element is called a hatch panel, and we need to be able to pick it up and put it on a rocket ship to allow us to trap balls inside of it and store the cargo away safely. We also need to be able to pick up this, which is called the cargo, and put it in the rocket as well as the cargo ship. At the end as well, there's something where there's an opportunity for extra bonus points, I guess you could call it, which is climbing. So there's a platform that is 19 inches off of the ground, and there's a lower one as well. I forget the exact height, but we are able to reach both of those, as well as reach all 3 levels of the rocket ship and complete everything there is to do on the field.
So now we're going to show off the robot. His name is Major Tom, inspired by Space Oddity. So.
All right.
Do you guys need the wires moved, or you?
I guess we'll find out.
All right. So now you'll see.
Morning.
You can lift that up.
Alright, I'm just gonna, do you want to move out for the light? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, our robot can go very, very high. I forget the exact height, but you'll see in a hot second.
Yeah.
Don't hit the ceiling.
I know. So that's the maximum height it can achieve. That's the maximum height we needed to go to. And then if we brought the game piece, which we didn't have any space to, we would place it, so it's pretty cool. And then...
So the way that we let it go is that if Kuna can help me out with this, we place it on the rocket ship or the cargo bay. Just hold it for a hot sec.
Hook and loop tape or Velcro to the cargo ship. So we drive up, we get it lined up, and then if my hands were the hook and loop tape, we would do this.
We'd close it, and then Will would back up.
Yes.
And that would be stay there.
Yep.
And we'd score the game piece.
And then the other game piece is the balls or the cargo. And what's interesting about our mechanism is that it is dual purpose. So we have the same mechanism to pick up both the balls and the cargo, or the balls and the hatches. So we go up to the place we need to score it, and then she brings it up, and then she shoots it out. So. Thank you.
We need to climb.
And then finally, unfortunately, we won't be able to show it off to its full extent because we're on the platform. But we can climb up to a 22-inch platform. Because we don't have the platform for it to stand on, we're going to need to have people support it so it doesn't just fall down at the end. So.
And I'd just like to reiterate really quick that this entire robot was made from scratch by the students from LHS. So all that cool stuff you just saw, that's what we're doing in this club.
It really fills in a niche that we are missing by not having engineering classes, so it's amazing for all the students. So now Vanessa's going to engage the front pistons, which will lift up the robot. And the back pistons go up autonomously.
Yep.
And then it can.
So at this point, we drive onto the platform. Usually we'd lift up the front piston, drive on more, lift up the back piston, so we'd be on the platform. But we can't do that right now. So first I'm gonna lift up the back piston and then the front piston. Okay, so I'm gonna lift up the back piston. And now the front one, which should...
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. So yeah, that's our climb.
We would like to conclude today by talking about what we've been doing for the last few weeks. We had a competition at Hartford last weekend, and
so we had 2 competitions, 2 qualifying competitions before any of the playoff competitions, if you will, or the higher level ones. So we had one at Western New England University, which was a couple weeks ago, and we did pretty well with that one. We were selected in the alliance selection to be the 8th seed alliance, which was very, very good. And then this competition at Hartford, we did even better than that, which we didn't think was possible. So we ranked, at the end of qualification matches, we ranked 7th out of 38 teams at that event. And then we ended up being the alliance captain of the 5th seed alliance, which then we went on to win the quarterfinals. And then, so we made it to the semifinals, and that was, because we had to go up against the 1st seed alliance.
to note is that the Hartford event is generally considered the toughest in New England before the championship. So being able to do that well was a huge honor for all of us. And because of our performance there, we qualify for the New England District Championships, which start tomorrow night. So quick turnaround there.
Yeah. And another important thing to note that we did at Hartford was that we actually won the Creativity Award, which, and it's not like every single team there wins an award. This was like a really big accomplishment. And we got it basically for our claw design, which you can kind of see. You just saw that it could grab the hatches and the balls together, which a lot of teams didn't build robots that could do both of those things with the same mechanism. So,
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to show off how it can lock the hatch?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you can bring it up a little bit. I'll walk out and show that off.
A problem that we had at our first competition was that we'd...
Disable. Just so we don't have that loud sound.
We grabbed the hatch panels, and then when we tried to close, we'd either grab them not enough and it'd fall off, or then we edited it to make it so we'd grab it harder, and then we couldn't back out because we grabbed it too hard. So basically what we did was... We're gonna... Okay.
Re-enable.
So...
This really cool locking mechanism now, where this black part will hit this metal piece, and the same will go here, and it'll send a rubber band. Awesome. I don't know how well you can see it, but basically when we close it, we have these little things, and then we close it, they go away, so we can get in. There will be nothing there to prevent us from going in. And then when we open, they'll come back, so we can pull the panels straight off the human player station. So it's a really elegant design. So can you just...
Yeah, so you can see to start, it has hooks. And then... Oh, shoot, this is
when you close it, they go away.
Charged.
So, and then the last thing, I think the last thing, is that this weekend we have a chance to qualify for the World Championships, which would be unbelievable. We're currently working up the funds to go, and it would be a huge honor. And we're super excited for this upcoming weekend. So,
and just one more thing, just before we close out and open it up for any questions from you guys, I'd also like to personally thank, in behalf on this team, Leaf and all of our other sponsors, and definitely all of our mentors that have put in so much time and effort to help us make this robot. We all really appreciate our sponsors and our mentors for their great help.
And one last thing, this program has opened up so many opportunities for me, especially going into college. I personally will most likely be attending the University of Rochester, and they have given me a very large scholarship because I was involved in the program.
I'd also like to say the same exact thing happened for me. Okay. I've decided I'm going to WPI, which is a huge robotics school, and I was also definitely, it helped me get into that school through my affiliation with FIRST, and I am so glad to go there. And that's actually where our district championships this weekend is located, at WPI, so I'm super excited to be back on campus for that. But this program, it made my dreams come true in a way. And there was nothing like this before the robotics team started, and I'm so glad for the opportunities that it gave us.
And huge shout out to Lee Allen Tuck for making all of this possible.
Really quick, our robot charged up, but if you can see the claw close. Oh, this is so awkward.
That's why.
Oh, shoot. Hold on.
So are there
hold
any
on.
questions while we're waiting for this? For anyone on the team?
There we go. So, like, as it closes.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to explain that.
Yeah, so the way this mechanism works is that this black piece here pushes this spring, if you call it, that initially holds the hash panel. So when it closes, this stop pushes the spring away and then hides. I don't know if you can see it, but it hides this little knob there. So when you open it, it's no longer pushing on this, and the thing is out, so it will catch that hash panel.
So that was really great. All right. Do you guys have any questions for us? Or?
Bring up the awards.
Oh, of course.
Oh, the physical?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well,
because we talked about it. So.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh shoot! How could we have forgotten?
So this fellow right here, his name is Sam Baresi.
You saw his brother a hot second ago.
Yeah, brother of Jonah Baresi. Luca. Oh my God. Sorry, he does.
So basically.
Wait, Sam, would you like to talk about it yourself?
All right. So at our last competition, we have the opportunity to our team, all the students, nominates a student that we think shows really good leadership and just is a great role model for this team. And we nominate this person for what's called the Dean's List Award. And Sam Baresi made it to the final round.
Semifinals.
Yeah.
Or the New England finals, the world semifinals.
Yeah.
And
so basically, he got past the first obstacle, and now he's in the running to win the Dean's List Award at our New England District Championships this weekend. All right, now do you guys have any questions?
Sorry.
A comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry.
No, I know that in one of the comments, one of the parents said, this is like an honors class in a varsity sport. And I don't think everybody understands how much effort and time you guys put into this. So I wonder if you could tell us what it's like when you're in the build phase, how much time and effort you guys put in.
So as an example, the last 4 days of build season were over break. We met about 12 hours each one of those days. So it was very intense for us during then.
And even during the school week, every single day we'd be after school for 2.5 hours, usually 3 because we'd stay late to try and finish things. And this is on top of all of our other schoolwork and coursework and if we're doing a sport. So this is, and I can say this because I am in multiple honors and AP classes and do a varsity sport in the winter. This is so much more effort than that. It truly is a combination of both of them, but it's so worth it. It's actually a quote that one of the people in first usually say, that this competition is the hardest fun you'll ever have.
And it's a varsity sport where everybody can go pro.
Yeah. Like we are.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Right?
Yeah, I want to thank all of you. One of my sons is on one of the FLL teams. So you guys as mentors and examples for all of them is really, really great.
Is your son Brennan?
No, Keegan.
Oh.
He's on Mr. Allen Tuck's FLL team.
Okay.
So thank you, because you're a great example for all of them.
Thank you
so much for being involved in the program. We really hope to grow it out as much as possible.
Yeah. Getting kids involved at a young age is so important to me, I feel like, because we didn't really have this as like in middle school. So it's really great to see that we're actually making an impact on these younger students' lives. So thank you.
I have to say that's one of the things that I'm so impressed with, that you've been, I love this program. You mentioned Windsor Locks. I used to work in Windsor Locks. I know that program very well, but this is one of the best programs out there. But the fact that the students are bringing it down to the other students and getting them excited about it. I mean, Blueberry Hill had to run 2 PSI Lego after school programs this time around because so many kids were interested. So it's definitely catching on, and we thank you for that because there are a lot of kids out there who want to do this. So kudos to you, kudos to your advisors and all the time that you spend. Thank you so much because it is, I love that, the hardest fun that you'll ever have.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving.
Hold
I just
on.
wanted to say.
Hey, wait a sec. John had her hand up first.
No, I just wanted to, y'all know I get to hear about how impressive and awesome you guys are every day. But I do want to make sure that the families, the parents and the guardians also, I know the mentors have been thanked, and Mr. Dunkley, you weren't named personally, but, again, I know from Lee how amazing you have been and your contribution, but the parents that I see sitting here that are driving to the tournaments, that are sharing you all with the program for those 12 hours a day. So to the parents and to the guardians, I see you out there, so thank you for your support.
Bronwyn?
I just wanted to say congratulations on making it to WPI this weekend, and good luck. And also, everyone just really appreciates all the time, in addition to you making the robotics team here so successful, the time you're putting in with the younger kids. I know the summer camp last year was super successful, and I saw it was in the offerings again this year, so I heard some people talking about that, and they're really excited that it's back, and it's nice that the students are there to help the young kids. We really appreciate it.
Great. Before, you have
No,
Dr.
yeah, I
O'Shea?
guess I could. I was thinking about the work of the robotics team and the connection between the younger students that brought us the plastic bag project. And so I wrote down 6 words: study, plan, design, create, apply, present. Right? And those are like the hallmarks of true learning. And then how can we take this type of activity and amplify it and expand it into more nooks and crannies of this district? I think that's a really powerful question, and I want to thank you guys for showing us what real optimal learning conditions can look like. And when you mix in your passion and your poise and your all that, and the support of parents and the community, a lot of great things can happen. So thank you for this. Congratulations. Good luck in the upcoming competitions. It's really, really powerful stuff.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, good job.
We really appreciate all the support you guys give us and giving this opportunity to come here, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I would echo the sentiments of everybody as well. It continues to amaze me, the strength of the students in this district. And the opportunities that are before the students are awesome. But when you go beyond and create your own opportunities with the support of, your parents and the advisors, Mr. Dunkley, everybody else along the way, it just shows that extra, that makes Long Meadow students special. And, I was kind of kidding earlier, these are the kind of things that make all the long hours of the school committee worth it. It's true. I mean, this is what we're here for, like, to celebrate this type of learning, this type of innovation, the younger students. Mateo, you got a big target to come up with something real quick.
He's one of our enrichment students.
Oh, okay, there we go. But from the bottom of our hearts to you guys, we wish you well this weekend. Continue on what you're doing. The sky's the limit, and I don't see anything stopping you guys from being successful. So thank you. If you will indulge me, I'm going to move the overnight field trip request up in the minutes right now. So if there's a motion.
Want me to read the intro first?
Sure.
Because the robotics team has made it to New England Championships at WPI this week, in case they advance to the World Competition, which will be in Detroit, Michigan, they would need a field trip request. They need field trip permission because it's April 24th to 28th. So in case they advance, I move on the recommendation of the superintendent of the high school that the school committee approve the overnight field trip request for students from Long Meadow High School to travel to Detroit, Michigan on Wednesday, April 24th, 2019 through Sunday, April 28th, 2019.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing a motion and everybody wants a second. Any discussion? Great. Move to a vote. All in favor? Thank you very much for your presentation, and go get them. Yeah.
Sorry if we took too long.
But everything. I'm good.
I'd rather see that.
Again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Where's that on there?
Yeah, oh yeah.
If you will indulge me again, we are going to move an item up to now the tribute rock. Mr. Dowd?
So as Mr. Dowd makes his way to the table, introduce him as a longtime friend and supporter of Long Meadow High and youth football and high school football. Welcome to have a seat.
Okay. Thank you.
And a while back, Mr. Dowd, on behalf of a group of residents and former students and parents, had approached Principal Landers and I about their hope to pay tribute to a very special person in Long Meadow High history, Coach Alex Rotzko. Alex was with us as a PE teacher, head football coach, PE department chair, and athletic director from 1993 to 2012. And so we thought it was a great idea. Tom and I both had an opportunity to work with Alex Rotzko. He holds a special place in my heart as an amazing educator, amazing person, amazing coach. And so Mr. Dowd is here representing the group and asking for your consideration, and I'll let you take it a little further in terms of what you had in mind.
Great. Thank you, Marty, and thank you, everybody, for giving me an opportunity here to speak. It won't be quite as exciting as the Nassau presentation we just saw. Gives you great hope for our future with the kids. Seriously, very impressive. So, as Marty mentioned, I'm here to rarely representing a group of people who had children that played football in Long Meadow for Coach Rotzko. And my perspective is that when I got to town in the late 90s, I grew up in Holyoke. My wife and I moved here to Long Meadow. And I was taking my sons to the football game at the stadium in the 90s. Alex had just come. And I remember just watching and saying, boy, this is different. This is pretty good football, for the high school level. And so my kids wanted to play in the junior program, in the youth program. And I remember going to one of the youth practices and sort of watching the coaches just to see how they coached and how they handled the boys, to see if this was, a program that I wanted my boys to be a part of. And so my oldest in fourth grade, Jack, now 30, got on the team, and before you knew it, I was a coach. And before you knew it, I had all kinds of responsibility beyond what I was looking for, but that's the way it works. It was the beginning of a lot of coaching that I did in town for my daughter and my sons, and some of the best times of my life. And but in any event, I had an opportunity. I went to Alex Rotzko, and this is important because I reached out to him. I said, Coach, you don't know me, but I have a son in the program, and I'd really like to grow this youth program. I think there's a lot of kids in town that would really benefit from being a part of this program. And I'd like to, know if you would be interested in helping put on some clinics, for these kids with your players. And he just went out of his way to accommodate the request and to make sure his players were fully engaged. And then I went to him. I said, we have a lot of coaches here that don't have a lot of experience in football, but they play a little, and how about a coaching clinic? Sure enough, Saturday mornings, Alex come over, chalkboard, just, so I just, I couldn't get over the guy. Very humble guy, as those of you who know him. But I realized right then and there that this guy was really more than a coach. He was an educator. He was an educator of young people. The boys that played for him, my daughter had him in health class, unsolicited, came home more than once and said, Coach Rotzko is really a good guy. He respects everybody in the classroom. It doesn't matter what your ability or anything else, he treats everybody the same. I said, well, that's interesting because that's consistent with how he coaches football. She didn't care about football. She wasn't even aware that I knew him. And so that was just another thing stuck in my head. So, I got close to the program because I was coaching the youth program for 8 years. And fast forward, my kids went to high school and played for Alex, and as did a lot of other boys, and I was very involved. And I got to watch up close and personal how this man treated people, how he treated the players, how he treated his fellow coaches, how he treated opponents' coaches, and just a really, really impressive person. So then you fast forward to the accomplishments that everybody knows him for, which are truly unprecedented. I'm going to say not only the state of Massachusetts, but beyond, because it's such an extraordinary record. Went to 15 straight Super Bowls, and he won 11 of them. And, in Western Mass, he was, the unprecedented, top coach, and the teams were perennial favorites. And other coaches, had great respect for him. I knew other coaches, people from Holyoke, where I grew up. I knew the coach there in South Hadley, and they just had so many great things to say about this guy. I said, well, it's all true. I know it sounds too good to be true, but he's just a quality guy. So I got together with this group after he was inducted into the Hall of Fame at Massachusetts High School Hall of Fame, and a handful of parents that had kids that played, and then a handful of people who were just observers of the program, people who enjoyed the game for whatever reason, didn't have kids that played the program. And I said, what do you all think about getting together and having a tribute for Alex Rotzko? I mean, let's face it, he's accomplished extraordinary things, and he's done it in a way that all of us could be proud as residents of Longmeadow. Everything he did was with dignity, was with respect, and you don't often see that, and again, very humble guy, quiet guy, probably kill me for saying all this stuff, but at the end of the day, everybody said, let's do it, let's get together, let's come up with an idea. And we talked about some different ideas, and we basically came, to the conclusion that this was the best way to represent him in some permanent fashion, or I should say pay tribute to him, and also to motivate future generations of players of all sports, really. Anybody coming on that field is going to recognize that, at one time this high school accomplished extraordinary things and did so in the right way. And I emphasize, and I said at the beginning, he's an educator, because at heart that is truly what he was, as an educator. And I won't get into all the little subtleties of coaching football, but the things that he used to make these kids do, the precision with which he would hold them accountable, and he would grade them. After every game, every kid got graded in multiple facets, and they were given a 1, 2, or 3. And if you had a 1, that means you met expectation. If you had a 2, that means you had some good stuff, but you weren't 100%. If you had 3, you had a bad day. And then he totaled the score, and everybody's score was visible to everybody in the team. My boys would come home and tell me this. I mean, they just, and this guy walked on water for them, and he was not a rah-rah guy, because I remember saying, so what did he say at halftime? And he said, yeah, he really didn't say anything. He just comes back, he says, okay, we're changing this play, this play, this play, we're doing this, this, and this, and, just really just amazing stuff. And so I'm asking, permission for this tribute to be built. We'll raise the money, and hopefully Thanksgiving football game this year we'll be able to present to him this honor.
There's a motion, recommended motion.
I move the school committee accept with genuine appreciation the donation of a tribute rock honoring retired teacher and football coach Mr. Alex Rotzko, to be installed in the small grassy area next to the walkway and near the student seating area at the stadium field at Longmeadow High School.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Further discussion? Comments?
I just want to say thank you for doing it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, my first time around, I had the pleasure of working with Alex, and everything you've said about him is spot on. He was a great AD, even greater educator and coach. So
Yeah, quiet and humble.
Yeah,
And proved that to be a successful coach, you don't have to yell and scream, and that you motivate people by treating them with respect and dignity, and that's what I always admired about him as a football coach. You know, so.
All right, call for a vote. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Going back to the regularly scheduled program, we have Dr. O'Shea and his report.
So a couple items for you in my report. Firstly, I wanted to note this didn't come up as a facility use request because there's no fee attached to it, but I wanted to mention that the Long Meadow Police Department has requested that they use Center School to do some active shooter training simulations, and that is scheduled for next week, April 13th and 14th. So they have used other schools in the past, and we appreciate their willingness to be familiar with our schools in a tactical way in the hopefully never happen event that they would need to respond to a hostile intruder. So we're very supportive of that and happy that they're willing to train using Center School. So just wanted to mention that to you. And then a couple items. One relates to the, I wanted to update the committee, the high school start time task force. So the group has been busy, and I was hoping maybe at a future meeting it might be given some additional consideration, or maybe get some additional direction from the committee on this. We have taken the charge to review the high school start time with the potential to make it a later start. And so the task force, which consists of administrators, parents, teachers, and there's been a school committee regularly represented. We've taken a look at the research. We've developed a sort of a synthesis of that research. We have put together an action plan. We have reviewed the implications relative to athletics, relative to transportation, and we're sort of at a stage where I'd like some additional direction from the committee in terms of what we might think about doing next. We're at a stage where we might want to consider bringing the matter to the wider community. We might be at a stage where we want to encourage more of a regional discussion. We might be at a stage where we should start to perhaps survey the community. But want to be thoughtful about what our next steps are. We've done a lot of the sort of the heavy lifting and kind of understand at some level what the transportation and athletic implications might look like. So that's kind of where we are. Again, I'm not necessarily looking for anything tonight, but maybe just for some consideration for you between now and our next meeting, and if you want it as an agenda item, certainly that's an option as well. The second item relates to our work around equity and diversity, and we have been purposeful through our school improvement planning efforts, our district improvement planning efforts, to make a commitment to recognizing and valuing the backgrounds of all of our learners and making sure that we're responsive to the diverse backgrounds and needs of our students. And, you know, we've been very forthright with the community about a couple of incidents that have happened at the high school. We had some racist graffiti recently, and there was also an incident last week where some inappropriate language was projected by a student onto a screen in a classroom, and it was very concerning. High school administration responded swiftly to both of those and investigated it, and are also, you know, very interested in taking on sort of an educational, using this as a teachable moment for that learning community. And more broadly, you know, I kind of would want to mention again that this has been a commitment of ours in very pointed ways. On March 15th, we had a speaker that met with all staff to talk to us about how we can be very culturally responsive. And we're very interested, even before the recent incidents, we had been talking as an administrative team about how do we make that commitment more systemic, more regular, more ongoing. We don't want our approach to being culturally responsive to be sort of episodic or, once a year, check a box type of thing. So it's actually on our administrative agenda tomorrow. I look forward to kind of bringing the committee some additional information about, what we think might be a strategic way to approach this. Again, just to be sure that we recommit to practices that ensure equity, ensure that we're valuing the diversity of the members of our learning community, both staff and students. So I wanted to kind of bring that discussion to you. As always, certainly welcome your feedback or questions or comments or directions. So those are two sort of, typically my superintendent's reports are more about happenings around the district, but those are two sort of bigger strategic issues that we're wrestling with right now, and I wanted to bring you up to speed on where we were with those two things. And if you have any thoughts or questions or comments, we're talking about one of those at our administrative meeting tomorrow, so if you have any ideas, Gianna, Susie, we've been in touch on these issues. I appreciate your feedback. And then we'll see, we'll let you know where we're headed with this.
Right. As you go forward with the start time,
yeah,
I'd be curious to find out which other districts around here are doing the same thing and looking at that.
Okay.
Because if we're going to find out, if you just think about the sports and events after school, the impact will be determined by how many other schools are doing the same thing. If more are doing it, then the impact is the use of lights rather than trying to change schedules, because everybody's going to look to change schedules.
Right, right.
So it'll be definitely beneficial.
So I know there's a website out there with, it's like late start. If you Google late start high schools, it'll give you the late starts that have occurred in every single district in the country. And there's a bunch in Massachusetts that have done it in just the past year. Most of them that I'm seeing out there, it's like 8 o'clock or 8:15 is what they moved to, from like 7:20 and like 7:15. So at 7:45, I don't see that we're that far off. But I know there's people who want to push it to like 8:30 or later. But even if, and I think this is the kind of things we need to think about. Like, do we do like 15 minutes, right? Or do we do a half hour across the board? And does that really affect it as much as going to like 9 o'clock or 8:45 or, whatever it is? So I would, and they got that there, right? So, yeah. So, I would take a look at, the packet stuff, and then, just look where other people are across the state as we think about that.
So among the collaborative districts, there's no one that's taking a hard look at this. I will ask every meeting of my colleagues in the Lower Pioneer Valley if this is something that we're looking at, and it's not right now. That's not to say that they shouldn't be. I know that Amherst and Northampton, I wouldn't say they're as deep into the process as we are. I think a few years ago Amherst was, but not so much anymore. The list there, the superintendent in Amherst had calculated the mean and median start times of the schools that were on that list, and there's quite a few that supplied their start time information. The average start time for high schools is, ironically, 7:43 of all the schools on that list, which is exactly when Long Meadow High starts its first class. So I thought that was interesting. And I think what the task force might need is maybe some direction from the committee in the sense of, like, what are the parameters? Some districts approach this as, we'll look at it, but it has to be a budget neutral solution. Or we'll look at it, but it really shouldn't impact the budget beyond this level. Or we'll look at it, but it can't result in this. So we're trying to understand the parameters, the boundaries of our discussion, because this is really a limitless topic when you think about all the ways you could configure start times for our schools. So that's where we are. It's certainly the research is there. It's indisputable that students are sleep deprived. how do we get them more sleep, right, is sort of the key question.
I was just going to go back to Ryan's point. So when you do ask the people at the LPVEC meetings, is there, I mean, no one's done it yet, does there seem like there's any interest in that, or is it kind of?
There doesn't, among the collaborative districts, there's no momentum.
Okay.
Again, seeing it with Amherst and Northampton, but none with our,
So this will be Amherst's like second go at it, kind of?
yes, that's my understanding, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Kevin.
Just two things. I mean, one, I would love it when we have our next meeting, if we could learn from what Weston's doing. Like, they were definitely an outlier in here, where they're starting at 8:45, right? Like, if we delay by an hour, like, how are they doing that?
Right.
So I think it'd be really great to learn from their experience. I mean, there wasn't any notes about, like, they've been doing it for so long or whatever, but I just thought it was interesting that they were definitely one of those outliers where it's not like, oh, they changed by 15 minutes, like, they're an hour later. So
Right.
that could be interesting. The other thing that I wanted to just say about the inclusion, diversity, and equity that you were talking about, like, thank you for your efforts there, and I know Principal Landers has been working really hard on that too, so just a shout out to him. And the thing that resonates with me, just thinking about when our students go to college, this is a huge thing that they're going to be hit with, where they're working in much more diverse communities when they get to college. So I think our efforts in the high school are super important for them to succeed when they start doing more group work, living in situations with folks who are different than them. So anything that we're doing to help them in that area is really important for them after they leave Long Meadow. So thank you for
Yeah, that's really well said. I mean, to think about it as an important life skill, that this isn't just about getting through the here and now, this is about getting through life, really. And I had a chance today to head over to the community center, the community hall, and they were running an event called Long Meadow High Unmasked, and it was about, I said 65 in the memo to you. I think it was probably about 100 students that were participating in this, and it was they just went through dozens of exercises basically to come to grips with their own perspectives and biases, but then also try to break down the barriers that existed between them. It was really, really powerful stuff. I didn't want to stay too long because it was such almost a private moment for the 100 or so kids that were involved, but yeah, so that, we want to think about how do we take that conversation to the next level with staff and students.
Any further comments?
The start time, I get the science and all that, but homework contributes to lack of sleep.
Right.
So I just feel like there's so much enrichment that happens after school with other, with teams and clubs and, and other towns and the balance of, maybe giving some of that up. It's extended learning, again, it's social, emotional, and physical, all of that, when maybe we might look at alleviating some of the homework that sometimes could be considered as busy work, but takes 2 hours. I have a high schooler myself, so.
Yeah, that's, I think that's something that we really haven't talked a lot about, but that could be a direction of this group as well, is just to think about sort of sleep deprivation more broadly and think about it as a function of many factors, not just when school starts, but it's a factor of screen time and homework time and start times and cultural expectations and patterns and demands. So there's a lot at play.
Yeah. Okay.
And we did, the discussion on this actually got launched, I think it was either Needham or Newton. I think it was Newton had moved their start time, and we had done a Skype session with some folks who were involved with that in Newton, and that was really helpful. But definitely we want to learn from some other communities. That's something that we really haven't done too much of yet with the task force, and that might be another next step. So that's what we're wrestling with. And that's, frankly, that's what I'm wrestling with myself, is to think about what's the next chunk of our action plan that we take on.
Marty, I know you've had some experience with Challenge Success and that group, and they have a whole comprehensive survey for communities around what's contributing to like the stress levels and where kids are going. I don't know if it's, I've just seen it, so I know it's helpful to the schools that have used it, and they might even publish results of that broadly. So, I mean, that might be a source
Okay.
of,
Yeah.
you know, information for you.
Yeah, it's a great organization. They've got a
Yeah.
lot of resources, and I did have a chance to participate in a program last summer with them, and
Right.
yeah, I haven't looked at their start time resources, but
Yeah, well, I think it's all, they have this framework called the SPACE framework, and it's all about, you know, how you structure everything around learning, so that, you know, learning's the focus, but kids aren't sleep deprived. They aren't focused on homework that's not necessary, and, you know, all of those pieces kind of come into play. So it's just another area of resource to look at for data, mostly. Because they use their connection with Stanford to do all of that institutional research.
excellent. Thank you.
Braggy, you're kind of silent here.
Oh,
Yes, you got
on
any
the start
thoughts? or-
time? Oh, I mean, well, I'm happy to see that for the first time I've seen less homework as a serious suggestion. So I'm happy to see that. I would say, well, I guess this is kind of, I would say for like start time stuff, I would say like the problem isn't like a big, huge chunk of the problem is just like simple time management. And like if you most of us like look at our screens before like bed, even though that's like the worst thing you can possibly do for like not being able to sleep. And like I know like when I was talking to like some people about like moving the start time back, like some people are thinking if you just like move it back like an hour, kids are just gonna go to bed like an hour later. But I think like part of the problem is just like insomnia. So like sometimes like people don't go to bed because of like poor time management, or sometimes they go to bed because their bodies just like don't want to go to sleep. So I mean, I'm sure you're considering like all of those like biological factors, but yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's like important to consider like how many different factors go into sleep deprivation.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Chair report. The only thing I have to report is that on Thursday, Bronwyn and I will be interviewing 3 law firms to consider for new legal counsel for the district. So we will bring the 3 in there, and then we will report out to the rest of the committee at a future, probably at the next one, on a recommendation about legal counsel.
Do we know who they are, Armand?
Yes, so we have Fletcher Tilton, and the name of the attorney we'll be meeting with is Joseph Bartulis. Bartulis? Okay, thanks, Tom. And then Merrick O'Connell and Sharon Siegel. And then the last one is Toomey Hess. And we'll be meeting with Jenny Tate, who you currently use for, and her team, who we currently use for special education representation within the district.
And where did they come? Where were those recommendations from?
We had Tom solicit bids from across the state. Law firms he met either at MASBO, which is the Mass Association of School Business Officials, or people who we've had prior contact with and know they give us full packets to consider their law firms, their backgrounds, their extended. I mean, we have the one guy had a 7-page about himself. So then we decided that the best way would be to bring them in and do this in person, just to get a feel for them before presenting the information to the rest of the committee. Any other questions about?
And is this because the legal contract we have right now is up for renewal, or?
No, we don't have a contract on legal services. Basically, we do not have to put this out to bid. This is at the behest of the school committee. Based upon just where the relationship was going, I felt it was time to take another look at other vendors for our legal services, based upon some of the costs that we were incurring in the recent past. I thought fiscally it was prudent to start looking at some different alternatives. there's different styles to legal firms. If you call them and get a quick answer, not giving you a charge for, the 10 minutes kind of firm, or, somebody who's gonna like bill you every single time you call them and start the clock running. I just wanted to see from chair perspective and district perspective that there was something better out there for our district.
Thank you.
Okay. Breggy, student report.
So I was at Unmasked today, and like some things I'd like to say about that is it's not only such a great event because like people break down barriers, but it also gives people a chance to offer and get support from their peers, because a lot of the activities are structured so that like people can like talk about like problems in their lives like that affect them deeply, and it's like sometimes it's hard to like go to like a guidance counselor or like another adult to talk about those things. So it's nice to see an opportunity where kids can just get support from each other, because like that's not the type of stuff you're just gonna like talk about like in like an everyday conversation. So yeah, so that was a great event. Sophomore semi was last Friday at Twin Hills, so that's just their dance at Twin Hills. High Meadows is May 2nd, so that's when like the seniors go off to this like park basically in Granby, and there's like a bunch of like activities to do there. And there's I think 2 trips this April break. One is a lyrics trip to Sweden and Denmark, and there's another English trip. So
Well done.
Any questions? Okay. Is there a LPVEC report?
No.
Okay, good. All right. Moving on, finance sub, we did policy sub.
I can take, so we actually don't have a chair yet, so
Okay.
I'll jump in.
Take
So,
that one.
We actually were to meet Thursday, the 11th. I have a handbook committee, an administrative handbook team that's meeting on Friday. One of the things we're taking a look at is the dress code. So we have a few different iterations of the dress code, some better than others, and I want to bring those to you in alignment, and I want to bring together some language that ensures that our dress codes are not sort of gender specific, that they are more universal and practical and legal. So the handbook committee is going to take a look at that, and then the policy sub can take a look at our district-wide dress code, which is definitely in need of updating. So we are scheduled for policy sub now, I think on April 25th. At 6 o'clock. April 25th at 6 o'clock. So, and at that meeting, we'll elect a chairperson, among other things.
And Bronwyn just informed me that Long Meadow doesn't have a homework policy.
We have homework guidelines for our elementary schools.
Okay.
There are agreements at the middle and high school level, but they're not sort of codified the way the guiding principles are at the elementary level.
Okay.
So I will say, when I began as superintendent, I had inherited a homework policy that was very prescriptive and very rigid in the way it laid out expectations, and I think there was a general sense that the policy didn't address the importance of creating meaningful assignments. It tried to quantify how much homework a child might get, but we felt like we wanted to define what meaningful homework looked like, and then that would take care of the time issue probably. So our middle school principals feel like they're probably at a point where this won't be in place for next year. but they need to pull together a study team in the same way that the elementary principals did a few years ago, to sort of develop some common agreements about what best practice looks like at the middle level for homework. And then as you get up the ranks and when you get into high school, it becomes even more difficult because of the size, the complexity of the departments, the levels that are involved. But still, I think the focus needs to be on what does meaningful homework look like. I think that's more important than trying to define minutes and hours associated with homework.
Yeah, and so, because my brain is just going back to that whole start time and, you know, like, and to hear, you know, like, it's a huge.
Yeah, we
the
feel like,
value of it is huge, as you just said.
yeah,
so.
I think we've made some progress at the elementary level, and you know, just developing fidelity to those guiding principles, or ensuring fidelity to those guiding principles, and helping teachers and staff and students understand what those principles. It's an ongoing effort. We feel like we've gotten rid of a lot of the sort of worksheet-driven approach to homework.
Right.
And I'd like to see that continued through the grades as much as possible.
Right.
But, frankly, there are, we want to be careful because there, as you move up the grades, what makes sense at the elementary level might not make sense at the middle and high school level in terms of your homework expectations, and the learning payback for homework is different at every grade level.
Right.
So, yeah, but I think it's that's on our radar. I'd say nothing in terms of having a written document at the middle and high school level for next year, but it's something that we want to work towards.
Would that be something that the
Yeah, I think it's always a question of whether or not it's a policy issue, whether we want to make it a policy issue or we want to make it an issue where there's some direction from the committee and then administratively we have to come up with something that makes sense for the community and for our students. I think there is a place for homework discussion at the policy level, but I think we would want to be careful about being too prescriptive at the district level in terms of homework policy because, again, what makes sense at the elementary level might not make sense at the middle and high school level.
Yeah,
so.
As long as there's room for discussion.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I think,
totally.
again, as it
Yeah.
ties back to that start time discussion. I think it'll be key.
Yeah, and like our students here demonstrated, I mean, true learning happens when kids are challenged to study a problem, to create solutions, apply their learning, and present it. And what we saw tonight really doesn't match what we typically think of homework being like. What they did was work at home, but it's not the drudgery type of homework that maybe we were used to when we were going through school.
I think the other more important piece of that too is, yes, that's homework, but they also, and this is the case in many schools, they don't get credit, academic credit for a highly academic exercise. And so, that's something to sort of shift our thinking a little bit too about where do these kinds of project-based approaches fit in the grander scheme of, how students progress through their learning and get credit for it.
Moving on, ongoing business, school committee assignments, warrants. We have a motion.
Filling in that blank, too?
You can be the blank. You want to be the blank?
All right. I move that the school committee
You are the
designate Mr. Jamie Hatch to review and approve the warrants and to appoint Ryan Kelly as his backup.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor? We have a field trip, Miss Dr. O'Shea?
We do have a field trip, and I had it now confused with our earlier field trip.
Paris, London.
This is the London, Paris one.
Yes.
Very good.
Page 3, bottom.
So, yeah, we had, this is a trip that had received preliminary approval by the school committee perhaps a year ago or so, Mr. Gantis. It was a,
I thought it was on here. May something
Okay.
last year.
May of last year, received preliminary approval, and preliminary approval allows advisors to go out and secure prices for transportation and lodging, et cetera, et cetera. So this trip needs final formal approval, set to leave Thursday for Paris and London in April. This is a trip being led by Mr. John Williams, English teacher at the high school. None of the particulars of the trip have changed since it received preliminary approval last May. So it needs a final vote of approval. Often the final votes of approval are in place in the event that there's a circumstance in the world that might cause us to want to pull the plug on the trip. If there were a travel advisory or Brexit, or an outbreak, a medical outbreak, but none of those things are true with regard to this trip. So.
Leaving Thursday.
Awesome. There's a recommended motion.
I move on the recommendation of the superintendent that the school committee approve the overnight field trip request for students from Longmeadow High School to travel to Paris, London on Thursday, April 11th, 2019 through Thursday, April 18th, 2019.
Motion second.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for vote. All in favor? Have a great trip, everybody. There's a foreign exchange student, Dr. O'Shea?
Yeah, so from time to time, Longmeadow High School hosts foreign exchange students, and the school committee has very specific policies with regard to the admission of non-resident students. It's policy JFAB, and the accompanying procedure is JFAB-R. And so Principal Landers and I are recommending the school committee welcome Masa Matsukura from Konishan, Japan. Next school year, he'd be placed as an 11th grader. We've received all his academic records. One of the things that we want to understand when we consider receiving an exchange student is the extent to which the student will be set up for success. And Principal Landers had reached out to AFS and asked for and received some additional information to demonstrate that the student would be prepared for success. And so he's confident that that will be the case. He's confident that there's space, confident that the student won't need intensive instructional services. And we have all of AFS's policies and procedures. I was in touch directly with the AFS representative. They've sent us everything that we need to document their procedures, how they screen the students, how they screen the host families, and how they handle the visa requirements. So we're recommending that we admit Masa for the 2019-2020 school year.
There's a recommended motion.
I move on the recommendation of the superintendent that the school committee accept Mr. Masaki Matsukura with tuition waived as a foreign exchange student, grade 11, for the 2019-2020 school year.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion? I can attest my daughter, as part of her CBYX program to Germany, was administered by AFS, and they do a very good job. I know my daughter got sick towards the end of her stay, and I thought I was going to have to get on a plane and go there, but they were very, very good about being involved, coordinating everything, making us feel very comfortable. So I can't recommend that organization more highly. So.
And your policy only permits the acceptance of students from accredited exchange agencies, which they are.
Great. I will vote. All in favor? Thanks. Okay. We are good. There is an executive session planned for this evening, just so you know, the recommended motion says not to reconvene. We are reconvening to have a vote. So is there a motion?
Sure. I move the school committee meet in executive session pursuant to Mass General Law C-30A 21A Purpose 2 to conduct a strategy session in preparation with collective bargaining with units B, C, D, F, and H. And Purpose 7, consideration of release of executive session minutes from previous meetings to reconvene into open session.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. This calls for a roll call vote. Jamie?
Yes?
Gianna?
Am I supposed to say aye or yes?
Aye.
So you can say whatever you say.
You gave me the look. You should just been like,
Aye.
aye.
Bronwyn?
Aye.
Armin, aye.
Yes?
Aye.
Aye. There you go. We are now in
Thank you.
executive session. We will not be coming back to televised after executive session. Thank you for attending.